Hi, never said that out loud before. Beckham. There are things that are so much more important to me than hating myself. What's my sexuality? Who knows? Because I hate men. Exactly. I was gonna say no offense, men, but I don't give a fuck. It's literally me. Thank you very much. That being said, all that being said. Hey sexies! Welcome to today's video, which is a bit of a switch up from my regular content on this channel, but I'm very excited about it. So today we're going to be doing a little advice video. I'm going to be subbing in as like your older sibling here to give you advice. This idea is super cute and wholesome. I've definitely seen my fair share of videos like this, including those by Ashley of Best Dressed, Hitomi Mochizuki, and who else? Jazzy Lee. Just to name a couple, I'm here to give my input. So let's just get into it. Also, I would like to introduce Bestie. This is Drew. Say hi, Bestie. If anyone follows me on TikTok on here, you've met Drew. Anyways, I've separated the questions as best as I could into 6 different categories, being timestamps down below in the description box just in case anyone wants to skip around. But I'll just name them here. Let's get into it. I almost answered this question last, and I did that in my last Q&A that I did, so I'm gonna answer it first actually. What's the best way to start a channel? I'm assuming you mean YouTube channel. I say just do it. Literally sit down, prop your phone up, record yourself. The first time I recorded a video, it didn't go very well, but I recorded it and I watched it and I realized, okay, I have to do this and that. I deleted it and then I recorded again, and then that was my first upload. It literally just start. I swear you don't need like all these fancy cameras and equipment and things. Like, they're nice and they help in the long run if it's like something that you feel like you really want to like invest in and pursue, then I recommend. But when you're just starting off, all you really need is like a phone. You can record and edit on a phone. You can upload from the phone too. It is a lot of work, like I'm not gonna lie, creating YouTube videos, like filming, editing, uploading, marketing it. It's a lot of work, but it's rewarding if you're enjoying it. Like, that's the most like rewarding feeling ever. So the first question we have is, do you have any advice on what to do when you're stressed? Like when you don't know what to do anymore? This is a great question, and to be honest, this is also something that I struggle with. I know that personally, when I get super stressed out, I tend to kind of avoid and I like shut down and just like don't do the things that I need to do. But I do have some advice here, which first and most importantly, be nice to yourself, be patient with yourself. I know that it can feel shitty when you set goals for yourself and you feel like you can't meet them because you're like overwhelmed, but it's completely normal. Take your time and do it when you're ready. You know, like make sure that you're allowing yourself rest and compassion, because sometimes even the simplest things can be really difficult to accomplish. Breathe and then approach it when you're ready. As for something like practical to apply to this, I have started doing something. I was at first doing it every day. Now I kind of just do it most days, but I go in my notes app. This is the most recent one I've done. I type out, it says, Jenna, hi, and then like 4 or 5 things that I want to accomplish that day. And it's not always tasks like film a video or go run this errand. It's also things like maybe spend some time outside or meditate a little bit, have your moment of gratitude, watch an episode of your favorite show, like things like that. Because I know, at least for me, when I'm stressed and I feel like I have to do all these things, I look at my day in terms of productivity based on like my output. I'm trying my best now, at least. I don't know if this is like exactly what you mean, but I'm trying my best now to amend that a little bit and to realize that a day is just as productive if it's just doing things for me, things that like other people can't see. And I also do have like some positive affirmations on the bottom of this. I just screenshot this and set it as like my lock screen or my home screen on my phone, so that throughout the day I can see it and like remind myself and have like nice little messages like, love you, you're doing great, just things like that. Someone asked, do you have any advice on loneliness? So I'm sure right now this is something that we're all universally feeling, which doesn't make it any easier. I know a lot of people like to say like, oh, well, at least you're not in it alone, which like can offer comfort to some degree, but it doesn't make it easier on our personal experience. So I am sending my love to you. I have found that trying to become my own favorite person has helped me a lot. This time alone has allowed me the opportunity to try and get to know myself better and to enjoy my own company, which I'm sure maybe you do already, but maybe it's also because like I'm delusional and crazy and I'm like talking to myself. But I really enjoy like spending time with me and like doing things for myself and with myself, which I never really used to do. I didn't realize how much I was always around people before. Just try and be your own best friend as best as you can. And beside that point, there's always FaceTime. You can video chat with any of your close friends. Just always remember that people love you. People want to hear from you, even if it's for like the slightest, smallest little thing. Just reach out, make that effort, because I know it'll mean so much to you when you do, and so much to the person you're reaching out to as well. If you're talking about like, I want to make new friends, I feel like I don't have anyone that I'm close to in my life right now, the internet is an amazing source for that. Follow people that you think are like, would be cool to be friends with on Instagram, and maybe like shoot them a message. Worst case scenario, they just don't answer. Put yourself out there. I know it's really scary and it's easier said than done. It's very simple for me to just tell you to do that. But somebody asked how to cope with getting older. Shit's scary. Agreed. I understand this completely. There are so many things that are kind of thrown at us as we get older. It's like the older you get, the more responsibility you have, the more expectations are placed upon you. But also don't be afraid to take this time as you get older to like really invest in yourself. I think that's important, that we need to start doing that from as young an age as possible, I suppose. I realized once I like turned 18, once I like became an adult, like I really never invested time into knowing myself and figuring out what I want, kind of trying to find your like center and your grounding and figure out like what you like and what you don't like. That's not going to happen immediately. I know that we have a lot of external worries and it's scary, and sometimes it feels like really inescapable and like it's kind of consuming your whole life. So just keep in mind that you don't have to be on any certain specific timeline. You don't need to be accomplishing so much by a certain deadline of an age. Like it just doesn't exist. It's not true. Do things at your own pace. Everything will happen when it's meant to for you, and try not to it's really bad advice. I know it's bad advice, but try not to stress as much as you can, because your value is not put into what you're producing externally. Like, you're doing great. Just be patient with yourself and everything will happen when it's meant to. So that concludes the loneliness and stress section. We're gonna move on to the next section, confidence. To everyone who sent nice little messages in my little inbox thing, I appreciate you so much and I read them and you're so sweet. First question we're gonna start off with is, have you ever struggled with not feeling femme enough? If so, how did you resolve that? Growing up, I have always been tall for my age, tall in general, I guess. I've always been fat. I have like a pretty deep voice. All of these things, I grew up kind of understanding that they were not very feminine or that they were kind of masculine, because I always, in my head, associated femininity with like being high-pitched voice, dainty, super small and short and petite and whatever you want to call it. So I don't know, I always felt like I had to, I guess, express my femininity to like a super degree to kind of make myself more palatable or more desirable in terms of femininity, which I never really realized, but I think I've done that for like a long time. And I guess I did genuinely, or maybe I just grew to genuinely enjoy these things. Whatever the case, at this point in my life, I feel like I don't have those pressures that I used to put on myself. Like, I feel like I'm a pretty feminine person. I've always been like pretty feminine, and within these past few like formative, more concrete years of my existence. I guess in getting older, I've just come to terms with the fact that all of these restraints that we feel in terms of like gender and identity, or even just like performance of those things, it kind of like doesn't really matter. You don't owe anyone any certain quota of femininity or masculinity. Existing however you want to exist and in the ways that make you feel fulfilled and make you feel true to yourself is what matters. Like I said, you don't need to meet like a certain requirement of these things in order to feel valid, and I hope that you don't feel like you need to. If you do, I'm here to remind you, you don't. I think existing exactly how you are, exactly how you want to be, is completely enough. It becomes easier and it becomes better to deal with these things when you realize how these like barriers and like lines that we've drawn are they're just that, like we've drawn them, we've created them, and we have just as much power to take them away. So yeah, that's my experience at least. So I got 2 questions that are pretty similar. I guess I'll kind of lump them together. Someone asked, How do you deal with your own insecurities? And someone else said, well, I actually struggle a lot with my body, like being confident. Do you have any advice for that? So these go hand in hand for me because, like I said, most of my insecurities are based on like my physical appearance. So the biggest thing that has helped me to work through these things and kind of get over them is realizing just how insignificant they are. I don't want it to sound like dismissive or like invalidating or anything, but what I mean by that is in terms of my body and my voice, something that has helped me so much with that is making YouTube videos. And how that worked is I realized, hey, I really want to do this. YouTube is something that I've always wanted to do and something that I feel passionate about. Literally all it requires is for me to constantly be looking at myself and listening to myself and seeing myself from angles that I never really saw before. But I had to just literally get over it. Because what I had to realize was there are things that are so much more important to me than hating myself. I want this so much, and it kind of put into perspective how insignificant these things that I worry about are. Because if I were to give more power to those things, then I would have never been able to make this video and like have a channel and have people who want to listen to me. Like, and it's also just helped me like familiarize myself with a lot of the things that I'm worried about. I feel a lot more comfortable like existing how I am. And another thing that helped me a lot was finding more people who look more like me to follow on social media. It helped me to just realize like me looking at people who look like me and who have like these things that I consider flaws when I look at myself. When I see them in other people, it like doesn't faze me and I don't think all these negative, nasty things and I don't project that onto them. I kind of just look at them and I'm like, they're beautiful and they exist how they exist. And then I have to sit there and be like, so why would I say any different to myself? I got a lot of questions on some advice for self-love. Self-love is very fucking difficult and it takes a long time. That has all started with me just trying, in even the smallest of ways, just trying to be kind to myself and trying to show myself compassion. Something that has helped me a lot within like the last year or so has been positive affirmations. The sooner we start to be okay with celebrating ourselves, the better. And the biggest thing is like detach your perception of yourself from other people. Like, don't exist in a ways of comparing yourself to others. Be kind to yourself. You don't need a reason to love the shit out of yourself. Like, I think I used to struggle a lot with, I don't know, just feeling like I needed more reason to appreciate myself. Like, I always felt like I wasn't doing enough and like I wasn't deserving of these things. But I have realized at this point, like, it's not true. I deserve love just for the hell of it. And I have the ability, like, I know that I do, as much as like maybe we want to tell ourselves we don't. You have all that love, all of that love, and you deserve it, and just give it to yourself. Even if like it's a slow trickle at the beginning, like eventually just let the floodgates open and I swear it'll change your life. I think I'm answering another question again. Someone asked, how do I feel sexy without male validation? Because I hate men. Exactly. It's so exhausting and like not worth my time for me to sit here and be like, oh, I have to wait for someone else to be like, you know what, Jenna, you're pretty cool. Like, that's a great feeling, don't get me wrong. But like, why can't I like decipher that for myself? Like, why can't I sit here and be like, you know what, I'm the shit. And I'll say, as far as men go, we hate men, right? We understand that they got pea brains. I was gonna say no offense, men, but I don't give a fuck. Like, baby, why are you gonna place your value in the hands of that man who probably has poop stains on his underwear, who doesn't wash his ass? Like, no! You think that you're gonna leave that responsibility in his hands? Babes. No! None of that. The way I see it, men are always gonna disappoint us. So the sooner we can detach and not require anything from them, the better. So on that note, we are going to transition into the sex and relationships section of this Q&A. Words, Jenna, words. Do you believe in multiple soulmates or just one? Great question. I believe in multiple soulmates and not just limited to romantic soulmates, people you're going to be like romantically involved with. I believe in like all sorts of soul connections, whether they be like karmic or like past life ties or just fated connections. I don't know. But yeah, I think they can take any form in terms of like friendships or family or acquaintances or strangers even that you maybe meet for like a brief second and it like can mean so much. I definitely believe in that. But yeah, I do also believe in like faded romantic connections. But in that same sense, I believe that everyone enters your life for a reason, and not saying that everyone is a soulmate, but everyone does hold significance in our life for some reason. Okay, so next up, we have a bit of a common advice question, I guess. Someone said, I am 20 and I have never had my first kiss. Big sis advice, please. First of all, that's totally fine and totally normal. I myself didn't have my first kiss until a little over a year ago. I was 19. Advice on this, don't rush it if you don't want to, but also if you do want to rush it, then it's just a kiss, you know? I think it holds as much power as you're willing to give it. In terms of like, if you want advice on like the experience itself, it'll probably be weird. I think just like with anything new, especially something that is so intimate and like personal, don't worry about being like a bad kisser. In my experience, I kind of just like said fuck it, and it happened how it happened, and it wasn't as bad, and it kind of like comes naturally. So when it's someone that you like and who likes you back, like it's a lovely experience, and practice makes perfect, whatever. So similarly, someone said, I know it's okay not to have any sort of relationship experience. I mean, zero. But it's still hard when all I see are my friends who are dating and stuff. So yeah, I know it can be difficult, but I think something that has helped me get through that is just realizing like, hey, it's not my time. I don't know, just realizing that it was going to happen when it was meant to happen for me helped me kind of feel better about it. Try and cherish this time, because having been through a relationship and like a breakup and plenty of other bullshit, I don't know, I guess it has taught me to realize that time with myself and like time being single and like not having to yearn about someone or like worry about this connection or whatever, because don't get me wrong, relationships can be great and they can be like super fulfilling, but also just I've realized how fulfilling and how like sacred my time is. Someone asked, how does one find a boyfriend / get into a relationship? It is true when they say it'll probably happen when you're least expecting it, especially like for me, always being like a hopeless romantic and always like wanting that connection or like to have a person. It never really happened when I was like actively like spending all my time obsessing about it or like looking for it. Like, put yourself out there, be yourself, obviously guard your heart and know your boundaries and your limits. But like, I believe in the law of attraction. I believe focusing on yourself and putting good energy into yourself and putting like time and intention into how you take care of yourself and whatever, like whether that be like focusing on goals or maybe making better daily habits, things like that. Prioritizing yourself is what's gonna put you in a position to be ready for all the goodness and all the, you know, because it's not like if you don't do that, you're not gonna get into a relationship, but I at least worry that if I'm looking for things too intensely or for the wrong reasons, that I'm gonna attract the wrong things. Because yeah, law of attraction, I believe you receive what you put out. So just be patient and know that the right person will come along when they're meant to. And it's a learning process. You'll learn and it'll be okay. Someone asked how to get over a dude. I think something that helped me a lot was realizing that there's no specific timeline that you need to like finish healing or whatever. It took me a long time to get over like past connections. It was difficult because it's totally normal. You spend time with someone, you build like a nice strong connection, and it doesn't matter how long or how short the connection lasted. I think what matters more is like how much it meant to you. I used to get in my head a lot about that. Like with my first relationship, I was like, fuck, we dated for like 5 minutes and I'm here like still thinking about this and like why am I like still not over it? And I used to beat myself up about it, and then that would kind of like make me suppress it and be like, okay, I have to be over this already, like shut up, Jenna, get over it. And then like I wouldn't be dealing with it, I wouldn't be working through it, I would be like suppressing it and ignoring it, and that just prolongs the process like even worse. So I think just accept that it's okay. These things take time. Some connections you're just gonna remember forever, and it's like totally okay. There are certain things that will just like remind you of a person, and it doesn't need to be something that you feel guilty about. I don't think. Yeah, just be nice to yourself, because like I said, I've had conversations with friends about this. It's kind of like, why am I not over this person, and like why can't I move past it, and why can't I blah blah blah, and like I feel like I've wasted so much time on this, and like I want it to be done and over, and like yeah, I totally get it. Just take the time that it needs, because every connection is probably going to take like its own course, and it's probably going to mean different things to you, and it's going to affect you in ways that you probably didn't even realize during the relationship or connection. Because also I know that people like to talk about like, fuck, like why do I care for this person, like we weren't even in a relationship, and like they never even like officially asked me, whatever. Like it doesn't matter. Like a loss is a loss, a connection is a connection. Like these things can be painful, and you don't have to feel bad or stupid for caring about someone and for missing them, you know? That being said, all that being said, I think what needs to be done is to allow yourself to feel, to try your best to like identify and like understand why you're feeling how you're feeling, and to try to move forward, you know, in whatever way you can. I think something that helped me a lot was kind of throwing myself into things that I loved that I had kind of been neglecting in the course of like certain time spans. Like when I was talking to certain people after my breakup, I kind of felt like, you know what, I am totally allowed to sit here and do nothing, but I also kind of want to do something that makes me feel good. So why don't I just like sit down and like film a video, or like why don't I dress up for no reason, or why don't I spend time with like my best friends and people who I have in my life. Kind of like find ways to invest your time and your thoughts and your love and your energy into yourself, because I know how hard it can be feeling like you're giving all your attention to someone who not like isn't deserving of it. That's not like, I feel like that's like a harsh way to say it, but like, you know, just know that it will get easier. The pain will lessen, and one day, I don't know, it'll feel kind of like what it is. It'll feel like a past connection. And also remember that it all happened how it did for a reason, and this experience does not define you, and it does not define what you're worthy of. On a similar note, someone asked how to deal with relationship problems. You have to have open, honest communication. I think allowing yourself to be vulnerable, especially like when you're in a partnership of any sort, if you want things to work out, if you want to honestly like genuinely work through these problems, be willing to have those conversations, and also be willing to recognize when your partner maybe is not having those conversations, or when your partner doesn't want to work on things and doesn't want to put in the effort that you deserve and the nourishment that you deserve. Know your limits, know your worth as best as you can. Never forget that you are deserving of all the goodness in the world and nothing less. And if people treat you like shit, you have every right to get the fuck out of there. Like, we're all human, we all make mistakes, no one's perfect. So definitely be able to come from a place of understanding that when you have these conversations too. I think it's important not to expect like the impossible. Like, don't assume that someone can read your mind, and be reasonable. I guess it just comes down to every individual situation, but as long as you're being honest, that's all you can really do, and just hope for the best. So now let's talk sex. I got a couple questions about this. Another one of them similar to the ones that we had before in this category. So this person said, this might be silly, but I'm 18 and I'm afraid to have sex. Do you have any advice on how to relax about it? You're not silly. Not at all. I think this is totally normal. In general, sex is just like I talked about kissing earlier. More so, I think sex is like a super intimate and personal thing to experience. I mean, it's totally valid to be worried about it and scared to experience it, because it, when you think about it, like, it is a really weird experience. But yeah, I didn't have sex until I was 19. I haven't had the best experiences with it. I've had like if you're worried about being like scared and uncomfortable, I'd say find a partner who you feel comfortable with. In terms of becoming more comfortable with sex, masturbation is totally normal. Just like with anything else, being able to offer yourself what you're looking for is super important, or at least to know for yourself what you want. You don't need to relax. I think definitely listen to however you're feeling and understand why you're feeling it, and maybe just try and understand if there's a way for you to work through it. And someone else asked, does it really hurt when you first have sex? I'm gonna say maybe. This definitely depends on obviously the individuals involved, but I will say that it definitely feels weird because it is like a new sensation, like a new thing that you just have never experienced. I'm gonna say now, if it hurts, then something is not right. That could come down to, a lot of people have this conception of like sex just being like you know, in terms of like heterosexual sex, like with a penis and a vagina, they think it's just like dun 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 dun. But like there's so much more that goes into it. I would definitely recommend foreplay. Foreplay is very important. I think getting to know what you like and what your partner likes will make the experience more comfortable. Spending time on everything before you just penetrate, that might be why sex is known to hurt, just because people kind of like just go into it. And also just try and be honest with your partner about what you want, and like maybe if something is uncomfortable and if it does hurt, just be like, hey, let's not do that. I have definitely, because speaking from personal experience, I have been there, done that. One of my past partners kind of tended to just boom, boom, boom. And I didn't really understand because, like, I don't have, like, a lot of sexual experience, but, like, being able to reflect on it afterwards and, like, talk about it has helped me realize, like, that's not normal. And I kind of, in the moment, was like, hey, let's not. Like, never mind. But I definitely, in hindsight, wish that I would have just been like, bruh, like, you're not doing this correctly. It's super normalized for men to be pleasured and for them to enjoy sex, and it's always been like so taboo to even think about like women's pleasure in sex. Everyone deserves to enjoy sex. Moral of the story, if it hurts, something's not right. You gotta talk about it, or maybe just stop. Now let's talk about specifically sexuality. Hi. Someone asked, what is your sexuality and have you ever struggled with it? Yes. I definitely spent the majority of my life pretty comfortable in my heterosexuality, and it wasn't until I was probably like 17 where I really realized like, I don't think you're straight. I've always desired men romantically, but I don't think I really realized until like around high school, like middle of high school. You know what? I think I had a dream where I like made out with a girl when I was really young and I suppressed it, and I was like, no, that did not just happen. But yeah, like my senior year of high school, I had a crush on this girl who I sat next to in like my math class, and I didn't realize at the moment that I had a crush on her. I don't know, I was just like always like nervous around her and I didn't talk very much in that class. And yeah, I think it took me a while to process and be like, oh, like I was always so familiar with my attraction to men that I kind of wasn't able to recognize it when it was like the same thing like with a woman. So yeah, it was definitely like an experience. I think that definitely helped me a lot to be like, well, let's reassess this, honey. But even then, that was like when I was 17, and I didn't really realize or like fully come to terms with me not being straight until when I was like around 19. And a big thing that helped me with that was, which I don't even know if the people realize this, but when I went to Italy when I was studying abroad, a lot of my friends there were like queer and open about it, and we had conversations all the time, and it helped me to like, I don't know, feel more comfortable just like talking about it and like trying to figure it out for myself. It's not like I didn't grow up around like any queer people. Like I had a lot of friends who were openly queer, and I guess like I'm very fortunate to have grown up in a place where that was like kind of normal. But I don't know, to that same extent, like most of my close friends were a bunch of like straight girls, and we kind of bonded over like boys, like as young people do, being able to make these new connections and like have these discussions that I never felt like I could have before was super important and super cool. I guess I've kind of like struggled to put a label on it because like I don't know, I feel weird about labels. I feel like labels are stupid and we don't really need them, and they can like be comfortable, but they can also like add a lot of pressure like when you don't really need them. But yeah, I'm queer. I guess I'm somewhere between like somewhere in the realm of bisexual, pansexual. I guess I kind of identify more with bisexuality. What's bisexuality? Who knows? Have I ever struggled with it? Yes. Someone asked, is it wrong to never come out to your family even though they'd support you? I feel fine not doing it, but guilty too. It's literally me. Thank you very much. It's super, it's like vulnerable and it's scary, and you never know what anyone could say at the end of the day. They could like talk all this shit, be like, yeah, like nothing would change, like I'd love you, whatever, and then it's a reality, and then like, you know, you don't owe anyone coming out. Like I think, I don't know where the post is, maybe I made it up, I don't know, but I remember Justice Smith, when it was like when it publicly like came out that he was in a relationship with a man, he made like an Instagram post or something where he was like, I don't know what y'all are talking about, I'm not coming out, like this is me letting you in, you know, like this is me giving you that privilege of like knowing this about me, and like me being honest with you, whatever. It's totally normal. If you feel like you don't want to make it like a big thing and have a conversation like that, you don't have to, you know? Do it in whatever way you feel comfortable, or like never tell them, or you know. Yeah, I completely understand. Someone asked how to shoot my shot with a girl, but I don't know if she's, you know, and I'm shy. You know, I'm not exactly the person to go to for this advice. I too am still navigating it, but at least like for me, I feel more comfortable talking to girls. I don't quite know, like, I don't feel as comfortable like flirting full on. Like with men, I'm kind of just like, yeah, fucking whatever. Like, I'm cute, I know, but like when I'm talking to girls, I'm always like, hey, you're so cute. So I don't know, just maybe try and approach it like as lightheartedly as possible. Just make it known that like I think you're cute, and like try and be honest. At least in my experience, women tend to be more understanding and more like nice about these things, whereas I feel like if you flirt wrong or like whatever, things come off differently when you're flirting with men. Just be vulnerable, be yourself, and I'm sure it'll be received fairly well. So we all get nervous. It's totally normal like to be nervous when you're talking to someone that you're attracted to, or like when you have a crush. Know that rejection or the possibility of her being straight is always there, but I don't know, it's part of life. But in general, the more you put yourself out there, the more easy it gets over time, and the more comfortable you are with the like idea of rejection and the reality of rejection. All right, now we're on to friends and family. This order is kind of weird, I know, sorry. So this person asked, how do I deal with friendship losses or disapproval of friends from other friends or family? In terms of losses, I have two different takes. Again, like I spoke about with relationships earlier, just know that it's totally normal for you to miss people. Taking time out of your life, no matter how long or short, to make a connection with someone and to have them in your life and to be so familiar with that, it means a lot to us as humans. And when they're not in your life anymore, it's probably going to feel really weird and really strange, and it's going to be like a big adjusting period and something to get used to. But keep in mind that everything happens for a reason. Once the connections come to an end, what I do at least is I assess it and I analyze it. Like, I learned this from it and they helped me grow in this way. It probably came to a close for a reason. On the other end of this, I will say there's just people who I'm just like, I'm not friends with anymore, who just like completely are not in my life. And it's been like surprisingly easy. There's so many connections where I got in my head and was like, wow, like I can't imagine like not having this person in my life, or like they mean so much to me. And I'm like perfectly fine. That's totally normal and is totally valid. And just as much as like someone meaning more to you than you originally realized, it's totally valid for people to just not leave as big of a hole as you thought they would. Now, when we're talking about disapproval of friends from other friends or family, I think that is pretty important. I don't know. I mean, obviously at the end of the day, I think that you are completely capable of discerning what is best for you and what isn't. But sometimes I know connections or emotions can cloud our judgment. And I will say that if you have people in your life or someone in your life that the people who are closest to you kind of warn you about or are concerned about, I would definitely not brush it off. I would try and figure it out for myself. If they have serious concerns, it might be for a reason. It's most likely for a reason. So your safety and your well-being is of utmost importance. So don't forget that. Now we're talking family specifically. Advice on talking to toxic parents about them being toxic. Sorry, I'm peeling a cutie right now. I got a cutie to eat. Try your best. First of all, this is advice that I also need to take for myself. Definitely assess how you're feeling before you go and approach a situation. I'm one that is very impulsive and I speak kind of like without thinking very much beforehand. And it can be a lot more damaging to the situation than we realize. I think what helps, or what might help a lot, is to kind of preface it a little bit and just be like, I love you, and I just want you to know that this conversation is coming out of a place of genuine care. Maybe figure out a new way to approach this or to make this better, because I want us to work on our relationship and I value our relationship so much, and understand that maybe having the conversation once might not be enough from personal experience. there have been some things that you kind of have to talk about like a couple times, because sometimes people don't understand your feelings and they might think like, oh, that wasn't actually a big deal, and maybe you have to be like, you know what, that kind of was a big deal, and like it still means something to me, and blah blah blah. And then maybe they'll learn and they'll figure it out and they'll change their ways. I don't know. And trust me, I've been through my fair share of conversations where I feel like everything that I'm saying is being like misunderstood or just completely invalidated, and I feel like I'm wasting my time and like it's going nowhere. But what helps me in those situations is at least realizing like, you know what, I said how I felt. I at least maybe planted the seed of understanding in their brains, and like now they know I might be feeling this way, and maybe even if they don't think they will, they'll start to like think about things before they say them, or they'll start to like maybe put more intention to their words. How do you convince your overbearing parents that you gotta leave? LMAO. I think approach it with honesty and with like practicality. Like, be practical. I'm still eating a cutie, I'm sorry. Do your research. I don't want you to feel like you have to prove anything to anyone, but like it would definitely help them to be more comfortable with it if you like prove to them, I'm serious about this, like I'm looking into it, I want this, and these are like some viable options. I definitely think all of that will help them become at least more comfortable with the idea. So good luck with that. So these next couple are a bit specific, so let's read them. Hi Jenna, I really want to move out next year to go in another country. I've always wanted to do this, but everyone around me is kind of trying to keep me in my country. I want to study in cinema, but I don't have money. Help. So this, I would kind of relate to my last question about moving out. I think if you're really serious about it, you should do your best to research and figure out what works best for you. I know, like I mentioned, when I studied abroad, that was a program that I applied to through my school because I was attending community college. So maybe if you have something like that, that would be kind of an easy way to set up a plan. Start saving. Of course, if you want to go, then make a plan and go, but also be reasonable and have a plan so that you're safe and you're trying to at least do things in a responsible way. As far as other people's opinions go, they're probably just worried about you, but at the end of the day, if you know what you're doing and you figure it out and you have a plan or whatever, maybe you trust yourself, then that's what matters. If it's something that you really want, then completely go for it, especially if this is like for your studies, if this is like a passion thing. I highly recommend. It is going to be scary and it is going to be like a big adjustment, but it'll probably be worth it. And worst case, you go and you realize it's not what you want, and at least you put yourself out there and tried. So yeah, get a job if you can, if you don't already have one. Maybe you can like try and commission some work, get some experience and some money at the same time before you go. You can always crowdsource. I know that there sometimes is like some shame in thinking like, I don't want to ask for help, whatever, but start a GoFundMe or whatever, something of that sort. Try and like raise some money. I'm sure people will be more than happy to donate to the cause. Even if it's just a little bit, it will help. So don't be afraid to do that if it's something you really want and you feel like you need the support. You've got this! This is super exciting, and I hope it works out and that you have a lot of fun. Oh, this is another one about friends. This person says, what do I do if my friends keep talking to a person who really hurt me and treated me as a second option? I feel like I've outgrown a lot of them and like they don't respect me, but they're the only people that I have. I'm going to a different college to them in September, so should I just ignore it? No, you shouldn't ignore it. Obviously, I don't know any of the specifics. I don't know if you've had conversations and if you've been like vocal about this. If you haven't already expressed to them that this makes you uncomfortable, then I would highly recommend doing that. Try and pull them aside or one-on-one have conversations like, hey, I just want to like express to you like this makes me uncomfortable and whatever. If they're not receptive of it, that's up for you to decide. But if you feel like you've outgrown these people, that it's completely normal. That definitely comes with age. You're talking about going to college next year. This is like the age where things like that become more normal. It's definitely very scary, but sometimes relationships are temporary, or their friendships are only meant to last for like a certain period in your life. So it's totally okay if you feel like it's come to a close, you know? And like you said, you're going to school, you're going to be like at a new environment with new people. If you feel like they're the only people that you have right now, that may be true, or that's fine, but that doesn't mean that they're the only people you're ever going to have. You're going to make new connections, you're going to meet new people in your own time, and hopefully they will treat you better and show you more love, because this sounds really unhealthy. Just a gentle reminder to assert your boundaries. It is totally okay. It is totally important, like super important. Okay, and that ends the friends and family section. So now we're moving on to just the miscellaneous last few things that were thrown in here. Someone asked, what are your favorite trends for this year? I love all of the colors, the textures, the layering. I don't know, I just love like the resurgence of like this kooky, weird style. I think everyone is like having a lot of fun and it shows and it's super cute. But I do think leg warmers are cute as shit. I love the like penny lane coats. Bunky tights are amazing. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything else. And I also saw this like tweet, I think a few weeks ago. The tweet reads, being overdressed is a myth made up by people who don't want you to have fun and be sexy. Exactly. Creating the occasion to dress cute is like super important as well, because I have so many outfits that I'm like, oh my god, like I could never wear this. Like I need something like super special to like dress up like this to make it like kind of more acceptable. Bullshit. What are your favorite comfort movies? This is an excellent question. Thank you for asking. I actually made a list on my Letterboxd a few weeks ago dedicated to this, just because I wanted to for some reason. La La Land, The Princess Bride, The Notebook, Little Women, Grand Budapest Hotel, About Time, Dead Poet Society, Amelie, Moana, Bridget Jones's Diary, and I will also include Lemonade Mouth because I love Lemonade Mouth. And all of the Harry Potter movies, which I am also rewatching as we speak. What would your ideal scenario be? Like running away to New York City, Italy, Paris, Japan, etc. This is amazing. A dream would be that I'm living in New York City or London or Paris. Any of the three. I would like to be an actress. Hi, never said that out loud before. Who also works in fashion. Like maybe I'm like interning for like a fashion company, or like I'm an editor. Also, I would definitely live on like a giant property, like a farm in France, in like some faraway place on my own, free of all of the world's vices, just pretending like I'm living in my own bubble. Yes, that is the dream. And with that, we are done with this video. I'm so sorry. If you're still watching this, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed. You had to have at least enjoyed a little bit if you watched this whole thing. Regardless, thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much as always. Like this video if you enjoyed. I love you. All my socials are linked down below. And I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.